He raised a man. He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Greetings. This is Brother Willie Muhammad with I Have a Testimony on National Network View. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is one of the leading advocates for the protection, growth, and development of women. He is consistently educating the public about the value of the woman.
Women have to realize, and they are realizing, their extreme value. Whenever you devalue a woman, you're destroying civilization. So the Me Too movement and the movement of women all over our planet is saying that the women have had enough of the misrule of men, because women are not the women of man. Woman is the woman of God.
Under his leadership, the MGT and GCC class of the Nation of Islam has created an environment that is allowing women to develop the natural gifts given to them by Allah God himself. One of the steps they learn is how to cook.
Look at them, brothers and sisters. Now, brothers and sisters, if a sister came up and stood beside them with a mini skirt and a low-cut dress that's beckoning nursing babies, which one of these sisters would somebody say, "Hey, baby"? See, they don't talk like that to our women. And if they do, it's a terrible mistake. Now, when women are clothed, they earn.
Today we have with us one of these food sciences that are produced by that class that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has spoke about. It's our Sister Amy Muhammad, who serves as one of the personal chefs for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you, dear sister, for joining us today. How are you?
Good, by the grace of Allah. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we'll start off. I was informed that you are a New Orleans native. So what is one of your fondest memories of being from the city?
Actually walking to the lake, because it was near my house. It was playing and swimming in the lake area. That's one of the fondest.
Swimming in the Lake Pontchartrain?
Yeah. My brother was a lifeguard, so he used to take us there. Yeah. That was years ago, though.
So how did you become introduced to the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad and eventually become a member of the Nation of Islam?
Actually, it was my brother Mark. He was in LA in like 79, and he got introduced to his brother Khalid. Had a it was called the Topographical Research Center, and that's how he was introduced to Islam, and he came back to New Orleans, and so a family member. So it was me, 2 brothers, about 5 cousins that introduced to the teachings. Yeah, that was about 1980. But I didn't read it until one.
Wow. So it's brother Mark, and brother Mark is in Houston right now, right?
He's in Houston right now. Yes, he came to New Orleans, introduced us, stayed a while. Then he actually went back to Houston, and I don't know if you know Brother Emil and some other brothers. They were still doing their little thing. They would go to drive to Atlanta papers because Atlanta had an established we wouldn't call them mosques, but temples, pick up papers and come and do soldiering here. Yeah. And it was one summer we were driving, we were in my brother's pickup truck, and we were driving down the street. And at the time it was Brother James. He's now Brother Jamil. He was on the corner passing out flyers because the minister was scheduled to speak. So I saw him passing out papers. He had a short because his hat wasn't even. So he just had a short sleeve, white shirt on with his bow tie, and he was passing out the flyers. And I said, "It looks like a Muslim." So they turned back around. They hopped out the back, someone went back to the pickup truck and started talking to him. And that's how we met Brother Jamil. And that was more or less like the beginning of the study. We used to meet in one of my brother's home.
Wow, wow. Well, see, we're experiencing a little sound issue. So for those who are watching, we apologize for, but we're going to keep moving. So how did you end up, as I talked about how me moving to Chicago will probably be a great trial because of the weather. How did you end up moving to Chicago?
Well, Brother Aaron, my husband, had a relative in New Orleans that he would come and see on a regular basis. And so after he joined the Nation of myself in Chicago, he asked them, would they still any believers down in Chicago? So he was given our information. So he came to the study group, and that's how we met. We weren't married at the time, but that's how we met. And then he eventually ended up moving down a year or so later to help soldier down here. Down in New Orleans. Yeah. But if
You've been
like no.
You've been there every since. So my next question is, like, how did you become one of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's personal chefs?
That's interesting. Actually, before I became his personal chef, when I was still in New Orleans, and he was speaking at the Superdome. I think it was the convention where Jesse Jackson was there. I don't think he had a cook at the time because Brother Khaled asked Brother Emil, who was the acting captain, was anybody he trusted that would cook something for him while he was here, that day he was here. So he suggested me. So it was I cooked, and another sister, Betty, who was from Detroit at the time. We cooked in my brother's home. I don't know how it happened. I was the one to go up to the room and serve them, and it was really funny because, of course, you're nervous. And I remember Sister Farrakhan saying, "Oh, I just love vegetables. Sister, these look so good." I was like, "Oh, praise be God." So that was the first time I actually cooked for the minister before I actually met him. But when I moved to Chicago, Brother Aaron decided to move back home. He approached us, and he would invite Sister Celestine, who was a minister then, who was married to Brother Celine. He would go and do shopping for her in terms of produce and stuff like that. And we're close. And she was looking for some help. So he suggested I do. So at the time, while Celestine was the minister, these are low, I would do desserts, and I would do wheat rolls in a break. So I did that for a while. Or that, and also when we would have a lunch dinner, I would come and help her then. But after doing that for a couple of years, she suffered. Had to be with her son. I don't even with one of her sons committed suicide. That was a big toll on her. So she asked for some time off of leave. The minister granted to her, and he asked me if I would fill in for her while she was gone. I said, yes, sir. But she never really came back because it was a hard situation for her. So she never really came back. And then he asked me what I saw, and I was like, yes, I couldn't refuse. It's such an honor. So that's how I started.
And some people, for some reason, we're experiencing that the voice is choppy. So we don't. It may be this service that we're using, but we're gonna keep going through. So that's some interesting history. So when you were in New Orleans you said when Dr. Collins was here, something you had an opportunity to prepare for something for the minister.
The minister was going to be speaking at the Superdome with Jesse Jackson. I think it was a National Baptist Convention. And he was running for president. Excuse me. And that Brother Collins was the captain at the time, and he asked Brother Emil if it was somebody that would cook the dinner for that night for the minister and mother. And Brother Emil suggested I do it. So it was me and the sister Betty, who was in Houston at the time. I don't know if she's interested. We cooked the meal, but I ended up bringing it up and serving them. And that was my first time cooking and my first time physically meeting the minister and mother of Farrakhan, which I think was in '84.
Wow. So I know a lot of people may ask you this. How does it feel to know that you are serving Allah's servant in that capacity in which you are?
If you would have asked me when I first came into the nation, that was something I was doing. It would never cross my mind. It's just I turned out my life. That was what it was supposed to be. But it's an honor, and you can't verbally express the honor that it is. You just have to try to treasure every moment there and always try to do your best. And you'll have your flops, and then try to deal with your flops.
So, as the personal chef for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you see him in settings that many of us don't. Most of us see him in speaking from the rostrum most of the time. And from the times where I've been blessed to see him in private settings, I know that he is the same person in private as he is in public. Can you testify of how he is the same person in private as he is in public?
Cordial, compassionate, caring, and considerate. It's just an example of what you should be. He's the epitome of humility. He would ask your permission. I'm in the kitchen, his kitchen. He would ask your permission. Sister, is it okay if I come in the kitchen? I'm like, sure, and I'm thinking it's your kitchen. But he does that type of thing. Ask you how you feel about your family doing. Always topmost on his mind is the believers and their well-being, and is truly a deep love concern for the believers and Black people in general. That is so sincere. That's always topmost on his mind, whatever he does.
Wow, I had it on me, but you said even though you're working in his kitchen, you said that he will still ask the humility. He will still ask for permission to come into the kitchen, which is really his, and his mind is always on
Right.
us as a people. Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that, like, seeing that, how does that impact you to see that side of him like that?
It could be a trial, and it will be a trial because you see the more human or everyday, like you and me type of person. Like you might not think people are like that, but they are. They human and stuff like that. But you must never forget that he's also divine, and you can't get comfortable thinking that you really know him, because we really, I would agree we know him, but there's aspects and levels that you're amazed because you see it coming out in different ways when he's there in the house with his family or other people.
Wow. Thank you, sis. And what we're coming up to our first break, so we'll be back. So thank you all for tuning into National Network View. Let us pause for a moment for these brief announcements.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
He anointed our head with oil till our cup runneth over. He who, Master Farrakhan, Muhammad, that is he.
Greetings. This is Tariqa Shakir Muhammad with National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "Can a new civil war be averted?" As America's new president, Joe Biden, takes office, angry supporters of Donald Trump and other factions of dissatisfaction inside the United States are threats to the country. To read more, subscribe to FinalCallDigital.com and tune in to Final Call Radio. This is Tariqa Shakir Muhammad with the nnvnews.com Final Call cover story.
And we're back with I Have a Testimony, Brother Willie Muhammad, with our special guest, Sister Amy Muhammad, one of the personal chefs for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Before we went off a break, you were talking about how that it could be a challenge because you see the humanity side of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as we also know that he's divine. And how do you balance that? How have you been able to balance that?
I think because I see him on a regular basis doing the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farrakhan Muhammad, and the passion he has for it, and some of the situations that he has to deal with constantly, you know he's divine, and you have to take a step back and say, he was born to do it. He's not an ordinary person, because how he handles a multitude of situations, the nation, personal life, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow. And we to add on to that, you know, I want to ask you about what you have observed of him in some of the following areas, and feel free to expound what comes to your mind. What can you share with us as it relates to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's compassion?
This comes to mind. I don't know if it fits as compassion, but I guess it does. I don't know if it was sometime last year or the year before, not last year, but maybe the year before that. There was a, I don't know if you call it a documentary, somebody was doing on R. Kelly, and they had this one or two women talking about their experiences with him, and the things he did. And you looking at him, it's like, oh my God, you'd be ready to kick him to the curb because, you know, what of his history, what people say of his history. And so in between me going in and out, doing what I need to do and listening to what was being said on the documentary, which in most people's minds is off. The brother needs help, and you was like, he needs to, put him in jail. So at the end of the showing of the documentary, the minister said, nobody is asking how he got like that or why why is he like that. And when he said that, what came to the thought I had in my mind, I said, that is the mind of a savior. And that's the minister. Because, you know, ordinary people would just say, yeah, he needs to be in jail. But he asked the question, how and why did the brother get like that?
Beautiful, 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 beautiful story. And see, that's one of the things I love about these interviews, where we can hear that in those type of stories. So my next question is, what about his patience? What have you observed regarding his patience? Oh, I see the smile and the laugh.
That too is on another level. That, oh my God, his patience is, he will tell you, and it's not even a tell. It's like what the Quran says, and a suggestion is really an order coming from the messenger of Allah. And because he puts it in that way, people take it like it's supposed to be a suggestion, like they really don't have to do what he suggested, but what is really an order. So he'll let that go for whoever knows how long, and then he'll come back and say, didn't I tell you to do such and such or so and so? But because he'll say it in a way where you think you have an option, or because he suggested, he didn't tell me, not knowing that him making a suggestion is an order. We kind of fall victim sometimes of not doing what he's asked us to do, which is an order.
Wow. And what about him as, because at a family table, at a table, that's where we most of the time we sit down with our family. What have you have observed of him as a husband, especially with Mother Khadijah?
I have to try to do something he is with her like the rest of us, but more patient, caring, considerate. They're a joke, and it's cute to see them joke. They go back and forth. Like any husband and wife that's been, married for so many years, they can almost finish each other's sentences in terms of thing, or she would not chastise him, but give him a suggestion about, Gene, you need to, and she calls him Gene, this, that, and he'll look and just smile and nod his head. But that's something I noticed. He will, not just with her, but even his children, they're grown now. When they're talking to him or offering him a point of view, he takes all that into a deep consideration. And if they point out something they think he should have done that he didn't do, he'll come back and tell them, you were right. He has no problem with admitting that he didn't get something right or he doesn't know, and he'll seek advice from somebody that we would think you shouldn't seek advice from him in terms of his stature as being where he is in terms of the leader and all of this wisdom he has. But he listens to any and everybody. And when he's listening, he's really listening to what they're saying. and then can come back and respond in an appropriate manner to that. He is another instance I want to give. He's the type of person that when you are around him and you're in the conversation, he puts you at ease where you don't have a problem or you feel free enough to open up to say what's really on your mind. And even what's on your mind is not in line, he won't cut you off. He'll let you say whatever you have to say and then come back in a way that's not like a browbeaten type of thing and correct you, which to me, I find it interesting because you can't help somebody if you don't know what's on their mind. And this is a sidebar. Very early on, when we had experiences in dealing with Brother Jabril, he used to say to us, he said, when you open your mouth, your mind is on display. So I'm saying that to say, if you don't let somebody open their mouth, you don't know where their head is. You can't correct them. That goes with family, friends, especially to me, your children. They should be able to be free enough to say what they want to say so you know what you're dealing with, and then you can plan how you can handle what they're saying if it's not correct. And you might not be able to handle it in that one particular moment. It might have to be spread out. And that's what I noticed with the minister.
Wow, beautiful. And you talked about his compassion, his patience, and him as a husband. What about him? You kind of touched on it. I want to ask you some more about it, about him as a father.
As a father, I've only seen him now with his grown children. Now, his grown children could tell you stories about how he was when he was much younger in Islam and how he's developed. So that part to me is where he's learned to listen more to them, respect what they have to say. They seek guidance and counseling and they respect that. And he's like really everybody's father, because a lot of people ask for guidance and counseling. But one thing I noticed that he will do when you do ask for like guidance or counseling, you're looking for him to, at least I would say, to give you a direct answer. You should do this. Maybe in terms of male-female relationships like that. And he won't do it per se like that, because you have to decide what you're going to do. Because other than that, if he was to say something like that and it didn't work out how you wanted to do, then you would try to blame him. So he'll give you the guidelines in terms of the teachings of what it is. Now, whether you accept the guidelines and try to follow them is a different story. But he's not going to get into your personal life like that and tell you to do that, because that's something you need to do. And I don't see, it's like, you're not going to come back, well, you told me to do this and it doesn't turn out right. That's not, to me, that's wisdom in how he handles things. He'll follow the guidelines of the teachings, give antidotes, and you should be able to pick from that and try to use what he's saying. But he's not going to say, leave your husband, leave your wife, things like that. That's not his way.
Beautiful, sis. Beautiful. Well, we're coming up on our next break, and I am enjoying the stories that you are sharing, and it's so beautiful. So we thank you all for tuning into National Network View. Let us pause for these next set of announcements. Thank you.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. go to nnvnews.com/donate.
National Network View was recently banned from the media platform YouTube.com. Within 12 hours, the NNV IT department quickly sprung into action with an independent service system to back nnvnews.com. The nation's news network is now streaming content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As we extend gratitude for the believers' financial support through donations, this media activism will not stop. Please continue to be a part of a force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Donate to NNV News. This is Clifton Muhammad with National Network View.
And we're back. This is Brother Willie Muhammad with I Have a Testimony with our very special guest, Sister Amy Muhammad. And our sister talked about the Honorable Minister Lord Farrakhan as a father. The other question I want to ask, people don't know, Brother Rock Newman talked about this a little bit last week, about the Honorable Minister Lord Farrakhan's great sense of humor. What can you share with us about that?
One thing that he'll do kind of often. I prepare a meal, I bring it to him, and he'll look at it and turn his face up. What is this mess you're bringing me? And then start laughing. And I just smile and walk away. But when I come back to pick up his plate, it could be completely clean. And to me in my mind, I'm like, okay, good. I did a good job. He said, as you can tell, I did not like this mess you gave me. Can't you see by what I left on the plate? And I just start laughing like, yes, sir. Praises be to Allah.
Wow. And how would you say, what impact has being able to serve the Honorable Minister Lord Farrakhan in this way had on your own personal growth and development?
It makes me more reflective about just being a Muslim, qualities I need to improve on, like the patience and compassion and trying to be understanding, less judgmental, because that's not his way. Just overall better person, just being more reflective about how you can be a better person, a better Muslim, because that's all he really wants us to do is, be better persons, better Muslims.
Wow. Now we were not able to have you on the interview that we did talking about the World Friendship Tour, but you were on many of them. Can you share with us some of your most profound observations that you witnessed and saw that you can share about those trips?
Okay. The one that really stands out to me was the one right after the Million Man March. The atmosphere and the spirit, not just in America, but around the world, was really ramped up. And we didn't know that because it was broadcasted around the world. But when we would go into each particular country or city, they received the minister like he was Michael Jackson. It was magical. Just to touch some of his clothes or whatever, it was magical. It was magical. And there was not one city where he wasn't received like he was a rock star, superstar, or a head of state, and mainly a head of state, really. but the masses treated him like he was a rock star in these Islamist countries. It was amazing. It was amazing. And they had deep respect for him. They had deep respect for the work he was doing. It was a group of about 30. And on a couple of occasions when he was being presented, say like we were in Cuba with Fidel Castro, the whole group, the minister introduced, and he didn't hold back or made a difference in terms of what their position was. Brother Leonard, the chief of staff, this was his security, this was his cook, he doesn't demean anybody because of their so-called station or position or what they do. Matter of fact, he said to me that he said, Sister Amy, he says, you're more than just a cook, meaning, and people will get, we have a tendency to look at what a person does and think that's who they are, and that's not the case. So he looks beyond whatever is your so-called job title, whatever, and see that you are more than that by the grace of God.
That is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spirit. We have two more questions. Your husband asked me to ask you this one, and I've seen this before when it's a good question. It's a good question. So, when the minister speaks on Sunday and there are guests that come up, I know that there's a certain amount of guests that are being invited to the actual dinner. But then I know that number increases, and you're the person that has to come up with all of the food and the setting. How do you make accommodations for that?
That's funny. It's funny because after a certain point, they'll ask you, okay, they'll tell you, this is what we're inviting. But it's never the number that they initially tell you. It could always be anywhere from 5 to 15 more people than what they said. So we automatically have gotten into a habit of doing more than what they say do. Because he'll just, I invited this one, then he'll see somebody else at the end of a mass meeting. Oh, brother, you can come. Okay, y'all got to set up. And we get there, they get there, and it says, you got to set up another place setting, and we're trying to find out where we're going to put somebody. And it's like that even when we're on the road, we make shift, moving chairs around, trying to see how we can accommodate the people that he want to come. So that's like a norm. Everybody knows now that it's not going to be the number that he says. Always expect more than what you are told to be on the safe side.
Right. So, the title of this show is I Have a Testimony. And one of the major objectives of this show is to provide our guests with an opportunity to share their testimonies, as you've been doing, about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, with the hopes that it can help free him in the minds of some who've been ill affected by the propaganda by this media, right? So if you had to stand before the world and share 3 qualities about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what 3 qualities would you share and why?
Well, first and foremost, it's very compassionate. Another one is he's not a liar at all. Speaks the truth at all times, no matter to whom or what. He doesn't care. And he's a patient person. And you have to be that, dealing with people in general and Black people for sure, because we have been through a lot and we've been made a certain way. And you definitely need to be truthful, compassionate, and patient to be, in my estimate, anybody who wants to help Black people and people in general. It's like the messenger said, this is the hardest job on the planet. And he has been successful at it because of the way Allah made him, in his heart. It's a pure heart, pure intentions. He does nothing with an ulterior motive other than to uplift people.
Beautiful. And how has serving the minister in this capacity, how has it helped you with your family and your children?
It's helped me, like I said. I try to be more patient and understanding, and to understand and try to, well, I want to be open enough so that they can approach me. And for the most part, they can. Then I also realize that I have to realize that the world we're in is 100 times worse than when I was growing up.
Mm.
And the ministers often said about the influences of the world. And not that I got into a lot when I was younger, that wasn't me, but I realized that can be the possibility because that's how it is. So if they do something that's not what I would want them to do, I'll be disappointed, but I'm not throwing them to the curb because they fail or something. Because we make mistakes all the time, and our children will see us making mistakes, even though they might not say nothing. So we have to realize that it's a learning process, but it's helped because you have Islam and these guidelines they have for you to try to deal, just because the children are people too. And sometimes we forget that we don't like to be talked to a certain way or handled a certain way. They have those same feelings and emotions and mindset of wanting to be respected. The youngest of the young wants to be respected. And we have to try to deal with our children in a more respectful manner because they're very intelligent. Even the babies might not be able to communicate, but I noticed that with my children when they were young. They understood what was around them. They couldn't verbalize it, but you could tell by their actions and their reactions that they understood what you was doing. And we have to learn to understand that they're people, human beings, and deal with them as such. Not that you don't discipline them, but just try to do it in the best manner. And the minister said, and he said many times in lectures, he said, don't punish or even spank or whip them in anger because you're in a state where you're not rational, you're not in control, and you can do more damage than good. So you should do it when your emotions are not in, raging. And that's one thing we have to do, get our emotions in check when we're dealing with our children, just people in general.
Wow.
If we hurt
Wow.
somebody and we don't mean to hurt them physically or emotionally or verbally, you could be abusive.
Mm. In one of your responses, you said something that I've heard the minister talk about, and I've also heard other people talk about. And the minister talks about his way. And the minister has said publicly how sometimes his way is a challenge for those of us who are around him. This is a two-part question. Can you, from your perspective, can you tell us about what you see as his way? And the other part of that question is, why is his way such a challenge for some of us?
I would say what would be, in my seeing or observing things, for some people I've been around, and even myself, is the time he takes to maybe what you think deal with a situation, or the way he lets a situation go in a certain direction and you thinking he should have done it this way or nipped it in the bud, or why is he letting it go on? And then what comes to my mind is in the Quran where they're talking about walking with the wise man, and you don't have a comprehensive knowledge of why he's reacting or responding to certain situations. And then I have to tell myself, this is the wise man walking. So I'm not seeing what he's seeing or what Allah is showing him, because Allah is constantly showing him things, and he'll make comments. At the time, I didn't know how to handle this, but then Allah showed me what I should do. And it's just patience is really, really key.
Beautiful.
That you believe he is the person he said he is. And there's a reason why Allah is letting it happen, because Allah has a permissive will and an active will.
And I didn't think about this in regards to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's sacrifice. You know, you have seen the minister, even in moments of pain, still leave that table or return to that table, leave the table to come and teach us, return to the table after teaching us through his pain. Can you talk about what you observed with that and how that impacted you?
Yes, there are many occasions when he was in the midst of his illness that he'd have a speaking engagement to go to, might be a mosque meeting, could have been a Savior's Day lecture. And to see him prior to that, we like in the kitchen, is he going to make it through this lecture? Going to make it through? Because he's walking out the door and you don't see it. And then he get up on the stage and we watching it, and you're just amazed how once he starts talking, the Spirit of God fills him up. He's energized again, and he gives it his all. And this is the part I don't really see. But then the brothers on security will say, after that's over, when they get him off the stage, it's just like he's exhausted and they have to physically help him to get in the car, whatever. And you can see that when he comes back into wherever he is, that he is tired and drained. But prior to that going, it's like the grace of God. You're wondering, how is he going to get through this lecture like that? Because he'll put it, his mindset, once he puts his mind on something, there's no deterring him at all. You can't say, Dad, don't you think? No, he's going to do it. They have a running joke. When they joke with him, yeah, Dad, we know you're the best knower. They would try to get him to do something, and he'll no, it's this way. I have spoken. So they joke sometimes saying, yeah, he's the best knower.
Wow. And I don't know, you could tell me if this is true or not. Somebody told me that the minister has a love for hot sauce.
Heat, yes, sir. He does. Sister, his daughter was over the farm and growing, has these Carolina Reapers, and they had Sister Mary Alice made the hot sauce, and they took some and they made it into pepper, like you would shake on. And I guess, I don't know, this might be considered a light moment. So I'm not into hot sauce. So he was loving the heat. So one time he was putting some of the pepper in his soup. And I'm looking at him, I said, Brother Minister, don't you want to stop? No. He couldn't even take it. He called me back. He said, take this. He started laughing. I messed this soup up. Give me another bowl. Because I'm just seeing him pouring in my eyes are getting big. I'm like, dude, that's really too much, Brother Minister. No, I'm putting a little bit more. And Sister Farrakhan looked, Gene, you know that's too much. They tell him. It is. He does have a love, but now it's tempered a little bit, I would say. He realizes he's got to watch it, but he does have a love for the heat.
Wow. I'm going to ask him to bring this pic back up with the minister when he was at the Million Man March, and I want to point something out of this picture, and I ask you this question. If you look at this picture, I've seen it before, but this time in preparation for this interview, it really stood out to me. Just the love and the admiration that Mother Khadijah has for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And to me, in this picture, it really captures the essence of it. So in this closing question, can you share with us just something beautiful about Mother Khadijah, just how she is as a person?
Oh, a lovely soul and spirit. She's compassionate. She's caring, she's giving, she's thoughtful. They were made for each other. I just can't say anymore. They complement each other so well. She's a loving spirit. She talks, she's warm, she's sincere. Sister, how your children doing? Oh, they're doing well. Good, good, good. Or if she has something, do you want some of this? I got some. Oh, I'm good, Sister. No, take some of this. Take some of this. She would give somebody money if she think they need it, or even if she just feel like giving them money. She's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spirit and soul.
Wow.
A true mother, a true mother.
Praise be to Allah. And we thank you, Sister Amy, for what you shared. And I know in the beginning of the interview, we had some sound issues, but look how Allah works. Right when we got into the meat of the interview, it actually came out very well for people to hear those stories about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his impact on you and what you have observed. Allah is definitely the best knower. And for those who are watching, we're now going to transition to our closing announcements, but we thank you, sister, and may Allah continue to bless you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure. And I hope I did okay and people got something out of it, because this is not my forte.
You did. Listen, what you shared, for what you shared, you did more than okay. You gave us some very, very good. What we would say if we were during the time of Prophet Muhammad, this would be called hadith and not sunnah. And this is what you gave for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So thank you, sister. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so for those who are tuning in, we thank you all for tuning in. And we're going to go to, as we always show, we here in the city of New Orleans, we're working to get out of the mortgage, or not to get out of the mortgage. So we want to honor our word, but to pay off the mortgage so we can be debt free and we can begin to use those funds to do more, to provide a greater service to our people. So please make sure if you can give a donation, we would greatly appreciate it. You can give it on Cash App. You can give it on GoFundMe. We will really, really appreciate your support. And also, we are thankful for those who have been allowing us to say prayers for them and their loved ones. People have been submitting their names and the names of their family members. And we want to let you know that as soon as we get them, we send them to our prayer group, and prayers are offered on the behalf of you and your family. So we thank you for those opportunities. Keep them coming, brothers and sisters. And lastly, on next week, we're going to have our brother and our sister, Brother Carrie Muhammad and Sister Jantrez Muhammad. If you were on social media, you saw that our brother just painted some beautiful portraits of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we want to have him here, inshallah, on NNV at 1 p.m. Central Time on next Sunday. So make sure that you tune in. And as we get ready to close, brothers and sisters, I have to encourage you all, and not encourage you, I'm asking you, if you have not subscribed to NNV News right now, I'm asking you to stop, go follow NNV on Instagram, follow it on Facebook, Twitter, and make sure you go to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And then after you do that, I also ask that you go and do the same, and ask others, I meant to say, to go and do the same as well. This is a very valuable source of information. This network that we have. We want your support. So please make sure you go and subscribe and ask 1,000 others to do the same. So as we close, we thank you all for tuning in to I Have a Testimony. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. And as I said, follow us on the various social media platforms. This is your brother Willie Muhammad with National Network View.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.